Hey there, greetings everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Plan B Success. We have someone who's in the publishing industry joining us today from Las Vegas, and it's booklaunchers.com. That's the name of the company. And we have Julie with us, and Julie is going to walk us through how she got to where she is today, and then what Book Launchers is all about. So welcome, Julie.
Thank you. Yeah, it's funny. It's like it's like a short journey to get to where you are. One that you can summarize in 20 seconds. But
right.
Yeah, I mean, the gist of it was that I was real estate investing, had a real estate training and education company, and ended up in the situation where I was working with a publisher on a book deal, but they ended up actually turning me down after they approached me and gave me a book idea to create a proposal on. They ended up telling me that I didn't have a strong enough platform to sell books. But it kind of opened me up to wanting to publish a book. And so I dove into self-publishing and ended up learning everything I could about publishing, but also book marketing. And I took my first book, which was a real estate investing book, to #1 in print books on Amazon. And this was in Canada at the time. Then I moved to the States a few years later. But yeah, so it was quite an adventure, and it kind of opened my eyes to the reality that you don't need a publisher. I was able to achieve, great success and have a lot of really cool results from a book that I self-published, and I made way more money than if I had gotten a book deal. So I really kind of saw the opportunities for authors to do it at the level of quality of a traditional publisher, but keeping all rights and royalties in control.
Awesome. Book publishing industry is a lot of people do believe that there's a lot of barriers to entry. You're right, with self-publishing and Amazon books, there's been it's kind of opened up a new avenue for a lot of aspiring writers. But then even today, I feel like trying to publish a book is more about, not so much about the actual book and the content, but what's overwhelming is everything that comes after. Trying to market it, trying to get the word out, trying to make the sales, all of that stuff. And that's where a lot of writers get overwhelmed.
Yeah, I think a lot of it's the whole, people call them their book babies, right? And that's not inaccurate in that it takes most people 9 to 12 months to put their book out into the world. But what happens is the opposite of parenthood. A lot of people launch their book and then stop. They just kind of expect their book to raise themselves. And any parent knows that, in fact, the real work begins once your child is born. It's the same with a book. Once it's published, that's when the real work really begins, because nobody's going to know your book exists, and it's not going to benefit the reader or yourself or your business if you aren't consistently doing things that market the book, which is a big part of why book launchers exist, because we're there to help people market the book afterwards. We help them position the book from the beginning so that it's set up for marketing success. But then it's not like, okay, congratulations, you're a book parent. Good luck. It's okay, here's what we're going to do together to help people actually find out about your book. And every month we're pitching people and trying to find opportunities and submitting to bookstores and book awards and running Amazon ads and doing ebook sales. Like it's a big process.
So was this like a pivot for you, going from real estate investing and your own book to actually helping others publish books?
Yeah, it was a huge pivot. It was big. But what I did for this company was I didn't pretend to be the expert. I hired experts who had done it before to come onto my team right from day one. So I had the vision of what we were creating and how we were going to create it. And then I hired a team right away of people who had published books, who had done all the pieces, because as much as I had had a lot of success with my first book, and I had already self-published a second book, I'm by no means an editing expert, a design expert, all of those things. So yeah, definitely a pivot, but it's so much fun.
So can you lay out this whole process for us as to how do you go about it at Book Launchers?
Yeah. A lot of people go, oh, I've got an idea, and they start writing. But for us, you want to do a lot of strategic thinking before you actually start writing. So our first conversation with an author is really understanding what makes that author unique. Like, how are we going to position you in the marketplace? But then how does your book fit into that? Really knowing your reader, getting into who is this person? It's not women between the ages of 30 and 50. It is somebody with a very specific problem that you're going to solve. And once you've solved that problem, what's changing in their life? That's your marketing hook. That's the backbone of your book. So we want all of that in place before we even create an outline and a writing plan. We have writers, we have writing coaches. So if you want to be coached through writing it yourself, you can work with a coach. If you want a writer to help write it with you, the writer will do that. Once you're through that, you're going through 3 different kinds of editing. You will be working with the marketing team throughout that to build your launch plan, to build a book army. There's a lot of research, keyword research, category research, pricing, competition research that goes into all of the elements while that's happening. Then you get a cover and an interior, and then it goes into distribution, and then you go into marketing. So it's about a 9 to 15 month process, about 248 steps along the way. So lots of pieces in there.
So how do your clients find you, or how do you get to the people who are actually looking to do this?
Yeah, I mean, it's a variety, but YouTube is, we have a really robust booklaunchers.tv. That's our YouTube channel. That's, accounts for probably half of the people that find us. And then referrals are a big chunk of the rest. A lot of our past clients that have worked with us, or even current clients. Some people work with us for years. We have people who've been with us since the beginning, and they're still working with us. We're still marketing their book. So yeah, those referrals help really spread the word as well.
And then, generally when we talk about book publishing or services like what you talked about, what should, somebody who's anxious to get a book published be prepared for in terms of costs?
I mean, you can do it really cheap if you want to. It's kind of one of those things where there's no gatekeeper when you self-publish. So there isn't a bare minimum. For me, it really depends on your goals as to how you want to approach it. If you want to produce a book that is as good or better than a traditionally published book, you can expect to be investing a minimum of $10,000 to $12,000, because the editors, the cover designers, the interior designers, that's what you're going to pay for those professional fees. And then if you want to work with a marketing team, you can expect, another $10,000 to $15,000, if not more. If you're going for like a national PR firm, you can expect to be spending $3,000 to $5,000 a month on PR if you go that route. So it does vary. People do it for less. People will do it for a lot more as well. It does depend on your goals and how you want to approach it and what quality you want from your book.
For someone who's looking to self-publish their book, what are some tidbits or shortcuts or things that you can share that will actually help them get focused on it? One of the biggest problems with a lot of writers is the discipline, the ability to structure what they're doing and get to the finish line. Any thoughts on that? Yeah,
a few. So the first thing is kind of what I said, is that creativity in the beginning, that strategic thinking of who is this book for? Why are they going to want it? And how are you kind of uniquely positioned to present this book? That it feels like nothing's happening, but if you get that done well, and then you build your outline after that, you're going to have clarity. Because a lot of what slows people down is they actually don't have clarity, and they're not actually picturing the person that they're going to impact with this book when it comes out. They're thinking about themselves and how they're worried about whether the book will be good, or whether it will sell, or, whether it will achieve their goals. But if you turn that focus towards that reader that you're going to impact and what you're going to tell them, then it's that outward focus that can drive the momentum. The other piece is, and I've experienced this myself running a business and having a family, sometimes you just aren't the right person to write the book. Sometimes get the content and hire a writer. It's going to go way faster, and maybe it's an investment, but it's a time saver, and getting the book done 2 years sooner because somebody else wrote it can be a real difference maker too. Awesome.
And then when it comes to your staff, are they mostly part-time, or how does that work?
No, I have a decent sized full-time team. There's 15 full-time people. And then we have 53 contractors that also work between the editing team and the design team. The in-house team oversees the contract team and does all the quality control.
For a lot of people, one of the questions that I have heard from wannabe writers and bloggers is, how do they go about looking for finding paid gigs? what would you suggest? One thing that I always point them to is the ghostwriting industry. But
Yeah.
any recommendations or thoughts you can share?
I mean, companies like us, we're constantly looking for good qualified people. And we don't look necessarily at your history. We do tests. We'll send you a test to, write this, edit this, to kind of see. So we can assess your skills from there. We're always hiring on Indeed. That's one platform where we constantly are posting. Using sites like Upwork, we also use if we're looking for a specific thing. Reedsy, reedsy.com is another place where we look. That's where we usually go for specific editors, and those people have skills and training, and they're really well qualified, the folks on Reedsy. But there's lots of work out there, and I would say start. There's somebody looking for if you've got skills, especially in the writing and creative side, somebody's looking for it. You just got to start putting yourself out there and be prepared to showcase what you can do before you get hired for the first job.
So in terms of your own writing history, can you help us understand your books, talk us through your books that you have published?
Yeah, my first book was More Than Cash Flow. That's the one that topped Amazon in Canada. It's been out for almost, it's been out 9 years now, and it's still selling fairly well, actually. The next one was The New Brand You, which is kind of how I used to attract capital to our real estate investment business. It was a branding book. And then my latest one is Self-Published and Succeed, which walks you through the process of how to write a book that people want to read that's positioned for marketing. And I'm working on a fourth right now, but that's the one I've turned over to a writer because I just could not get the work done. So the writer has all my scripts from YouTube and is interviewing me and a few people on my team to wrap it up. But that one's going to be all about book marketing.
Awesome. So, let's go back to when you wrote your initial books and then you pivoted and you decided to create book launches. What was that experience like? What was that process like? Did you take some time to really think through it, or did you straight jump in and say, I'll figure it out? It's kind of rare for someone who has a career in a certain line to suddenly shift gears and do something totally different.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a particularly easy thing to do. I added the fun challenge of using this business as the visa application tool to apply to the visa to move to the US. But that also forced me to think through a lot of elements, because as part of the visa, I had to present a business plan and show kind of how this was a viable business and how I was going to be committed to it, investing in it, all of those kind of things. So that forced me to do a lot more research than I probably honestly would have done. I am kind of the entrepreneurial type where I would go, this is going to be a great idea. And I would be like, hey, anybody want to buy this service? And then I would go build it. So the visa process forced me to do a lot of research. So I spent an entire year creating all the documentation, the business plans, all of the competition studies for that visa. And I think as a result, we have a really unique, interesting model that creates long-term relationships with clients, which is unusual in the publishing industry. It tends to be fairly transactional. Finish the book, you're done. But we're monthly. And so you can work with us for as long as you want, as long as you can cancel at any time. It's not in a contract. So it was an interesting pivot, but the time I took to do that research did make it easier. And I had a brand. I had a personal brand in Canada that allowed me to, send an email out to my real estate list and go, hey, I'm starting this book publishing company. Who wants to be beta clients? And I had 10 beta clients on board just from people knowing just knowing I'm the kind of person who does what I say I'm going to do. I had 10 people go, yeah, we'll be your beta clients.
Awesome. So where do you see this going? Are you going to spend more time on book launches and expanding it? Yeah,
I mean, we're still growing. I mean, we're only 5 years in. So, the company's got a lot of growth potential still ahead of it. Our goal is to be the first choice for publishing, not the option when you don't get a traditional deal. We want to be as good or better than a traditionally published book and continue to service clients in the way that they get all the benefits that a traditional book deal would give them, but they get to keep all the rights and royalties.
Awesome. And now on the marketing front, is there something unique that you do, or what should an aspiring writer expect on the marketing end of things?
Yeah, I mean, we're always testing. The one thing people should realize when it comes to book marketing is what works for one person is not a guarantee to work for any other book. And so you have to be ready to test. There's certain fundamentals that need to be in place for a book to succeed. But a lot of people, they look at like a bestseller, even my Amazon, going to number one. If I could repeat that for everyone, well, we'd be able to charge a whole lot of money and, be able to say guaranteed, overall number one bestseller. But the reality is that a lot of factors go into things like that. And a lot of it goes into how much of an audience does an author already have. And if they don't have that audience, then a lot of the work we do is building an audience. So we're going to be putting you in front of podcasts and looking for speaking appearances, looking for live events, newsletters, media, anywhere we think we can find readers that are going to want to become part of your community and your ecosystem, not just buy your book. That's what we're going to be doing. So it really varies depending on the author, their goals, their audience, and their resources. But, as a general tip, I would tell everybody, you want to be testing things, but test one thing at a time.
And for people that want to get in touch with you, what's the best way to reach you?
I mean, if you want tips and you want to kind of just hang out and learn, go to booklaunchers.tv. If you're interested in working with book launchers, go to booklaunchers.com/7 steps. And that will get you a workbook to download so that you can think through the first steps of a book so that if you work with us or someone else, you're prepared with who your reader is and what your goals are. And you've kind of done some of that thinking ahead of time, which will be a real shortcut for you.
Now, most of your writers, are they from corporations or do you get a lot of solo entrepreneurs as well?
There's a wide variety. We work with a lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of people who've exited either high, like C-level positions in major corporations, and they're looking to kind of pivot their own career, and a book is a way they'll do that. And then we get a lot of doctors and other kind of financial planners, professionals that really want to kind of showcase and differentiate themselves or share something they've learned. So I would say if I had to summarize it, it's people, professionals, executives, or entrepreneurs.
Okay. And then in terms of, kind of writing the book from ideation all the way to actually creating the manuscript, is there a certain formula that you follow or that you would recommend? Because a lot of people get lost in just the ideation phase, and then they procrastinate and then they never get back to it. What's the best approach to take in terms of going from idea to a written manuscript?
I mean, that's where the coaches or having a writer really make a big difference, because they create that structure with you in the beginning. And then it's not just the outline, right? It's creating that templated chapter. And then, okay, now this is what each chapter looks like. And then reading it to make sure you're staying on track. A lot of us, especially entrepreneurs, we start writing one book and halfway through, we're suddenly writing a different book. So having someone to kind of keep you in the lane that you plan to be in can really, really help. Doing it on your own, you can work with a writing group potentially for accountability. They're not necessarily going to give you that same guidance that a coach would, but that can help. There's a few things, but I do personally find that I need that accountability and that, like, I need somebody else that's waiting for me to submit my work to get the work done. Otherwise, other things always take priority.
Now, do you primarily run book launchers, or are you also into coaching writers?
I don't coach. I don't actually work on the books at all. I basically do this. I talk to people, I shoot videos, I go to conferences. I do a lot of that. And then I do some quality control on the work that we're doing. But you don't really want somebody who has real estate training getting dug into your book.
Awesome. So are you still in real estate?
Yeah, we still have holdings in Canada. It's coming to the States. We got zero credit score. So, we've only just been able to buy a house in the last year and a few other things. It's like you're a teenager over again as far as as far as your standing is. Awesome.
Well, I'm so inspired by your story, having pivoted and then come to the US and doing what you're doing. And I'm sure it's another adventure for you, but that's great stuff, what you've talked about in terms of book launchers and the work that you're doing. And there's more than enough people out there who are looking to, be the experts in their field. And that's exactly what they want in their next book.
Yeah.
So
thank you.
Thank you so much, Julie. It's been a pleasure talking to you.
You too.